Have you ever sat in your favorite chair, maybe with the morning light pouring in, a warm cup in hand, and wondered, not with sadness, but with sincerity, what really matters now? You've lived long enough to know that the big answers don't always come wrapped in fanfare. They come in whispers. They come in stillness. And sometimes, if you're lucky, they come through people who've walked the road ahead of you, and have something true to pass back. I want to tell you about someone like that. He's a retired professor, Harvard actually. But when you meet him, you wouldn't know it. His voice isn't loud. His wisdom doesn't push. He speaks like someone who has sat with life long enough to stop needing to prove anything. He's 72 now. Silver hair, soft eyes, and a presence that feels more like a quiet lake than a crashing wave. And what he said to me, it stopped me in my tracks. He said, "You don't have to prove anything to anyone anymore." Let that settle in. Really, let it sit in your chest for a second. Because how many of us, even now, are still carrying the weight of performance? Being the strong one. Being the cheerful one. Being the one who doesn't complain, who doesn't slow down, who still keeps showing up no matter what. But here's the truth. This season of your life is not another race to run. It's a return to being. Not doing. He told me. When I stopped trying to matter to the world, I finally started mattering to myself. And in that silence after he spoke, something shifted. Like the room took a breath. The quiet joys that whisper. There's this idea, especially in younger years, that joy is something big. Loud. Obvious. Promotions. Parties. Praise. But the professor said it differently. Joy doesn't shout anymore. It whispers. And he wasn't being poetic. He was being precise. Now, joy lives in the steam of a hot mug on a cold morning. In a neighbor waving from across the street. In the way the light filters through the curtains at 4 p.m. In the moment a memory surfaces out of nowhere, and for no reason at all, you tear up. Those are the treasures now, not because you've settled, but because you've finally slowed down enough to receive them. Mary, age 73, shared it beautifully. My spiritual life brings peace to my heart and balance to my soul. Sharing God's love is my greatest joy. And Judy, 79, still working part-time, said, It gives me purpose, keeps my mind sharp, and surrounds me with positive energy. That's the magic. Not the noise of doing, but the stillness of becoming. The fear that no one talks about. Now let's be honest. As we grow older, there's a fear that sneaks in, not of death. Not really. But of fading. Of becoming invisible. Of no longer being needed. The professor shared something brave. He said his biggest mistake in his 60s was pretending he wasn't scared. Pretending he had it all figured out. But deep down, he said, I was terrified of running out of time, of not saying what mattered, of losing my place in the world. It took him years to admit that fear, even to himself, but when he did, he cracked open, not in a way that broke him, but in a way that finally let the light in, a new way forward. He told me something that changed the way I look at aging forever. I didn't need answers. I just needed permission to be real. And maybe that's what we all need right now. Not more goals, not more noise, just the deep, quiet permission to say, I'm tired. I'm grateful. I'm still becoming. And to know that's enough. After he told me, you don't need answers. You just need permission to be real. I asked him, so what did you need permission for the most? He didn't hesitate. To forgive myself. He said it like he'd carried those words in his chest for decades. Like they'd softened under their own weight, waiting to be released. Not the kind of forgiveness you give to someone else. Not dramatic. Not loud. But the kind you whisper to yourself in the mirror when no one else is watching. The quiet war we fight alone. He said, you can't age in peace if you're still at war with yourself. And that struck me, because how many of us are still quietly fighting guilt over words we didn't say, moments we rushed through, people we loved imperfectly, dreams we delayed for later, only to find, later, never came. He told me he didn't regret the big things, actually he regretted the little things that added up. The I love yous he held back because he was too proud. The days he spent angry over things that didn't matter. The times he looked in the mirror and only saw what was fading, not what was growing. He said he created a ritual. Nothing dramatic. Every morning, while brushing his teeth, he looks in the mirror and quietly says, "I forgive you. Let's try again today." That's it. But it changed everything. The ache of being unseen. Then he looked at me and said something so soft, I almost missed it. "You know what people my age really long for? It's not more time. It's connection. Not likes. Not attention. But real, soul-deep connection," he said. "The loneliest feeling in the world isn't being alone, it's being unseen." That one hit deep. We all crave someone who sees through us, not around us. Who listens not just with ears, but with presence. And here's what he did with that realization. He stopped hiding behind polite small talk. He started asking people how they really were. He started answering with honesty when someone asked about him, even if it felt vulnerable. The result? Casual acquaintances became companions. Superficial conversations turned into sacred spaces. Because when one person dares to be real, it gives others permission to follow. Real voices, real hearts. Hearing that reminded me of something Albert, 84, shared. "My wife passed in 2009. No kids, no siblings. I live in solitude now, and most of these things don't apply to me, but I still listen. Albert, if you're watching this, I want you to know, you are not forgotten, your presence matters. The world is softer because you're in it." Judy, age 79, echoed this truth in her own way. "I work 20 hours a week at a thrift store. It gives me purpose. Surrounds me with young, positive energy. It gives me a reason to smile, get dressed, and embrace life." And Peter said, "Friendship and gratitude often come in small doses, but they're the most meaningful." Exactly. Because in the end, we don't need a crowd. We need a few hearts that make us feel seen, loved, and safe to show up fully. A different kind of legacy. The professor ended this part of our talk with something I'll never forget. He said, "I used to think legacy was what you left behind. Now I know, it's how you make people feel while you're still here." Read that again. Not what you leave, but what you offer, moment by moment, through the way you live. Your kindness, your patience, your presence. That's your legacy. Not your resume. Not your titles. Not even your photos. But how people feel after being around you. The ripple you create. So here's my question for you now. What ripple are you creating? Not for applause. Not for recognition. But because you know deep in your bones. Even now, maybe especially now, I still get to make the world a little softer. The way you smile at someone who's having a hard day. The way you leave love in your wake, quiet, but steady. That's the beauty of these years, not in how fast you move, but in how deeply you touch. Before we said goodbye, I asked the professor one final question. What do you think we're never really taught, until it's almost too late? He leaned back in his chair, stared out the window, and after a long silence said softly, "How to let go, gracefully." He didn't mean giving up. He didn't mean disappearing. He meant learning how to release. What no longer serves you, what no longer fits, what was never meant to stay. The younger version of ourselves chased relevance, chased usefulness, chased doing. But this season of life, it's not about proving. It's about being. Letting go of who you used to be. He told me. I spent years trying to hold on to the man I was. The provider, the planner, the protector. But no one told me that I didn't have to be all that anymore. That hit me. Because how many of us are still trying to hold on to roles that no longer match the rhythm of our hearts? Letting go of those roles doesn't mean you're less. It means you're evolving. The professor said. I used to need to be needed. Now I've learned that presence is enough. My worth isn't in what I do. It's in who I am. And when you finally make peace with that, you stop chasing. You start arriving. Legacy is not a monument, it's a moment. He shared the story of a woman he passed on his morning walks. Elderly, walking slowly with a cane. And every day, she left a flower on a public bench. No note. No announcement. Just beauty. Quietly offered. Over time, people began leaving flowers too. Strangers started sitting there to read, to reflect. It became a gathering place, not because of a plaque or a donation, but because of kindness. He said, That's the legacy I want. Not my name on a building, but to leave the world softer than I found it. That story will stay with me forever. Because that is the power we still hold. At any pace. Your presence is enough. So if no one's told you lately, let me say it now. You don't need to fix everything. You don't need to hold everything. You don't need to keep being who you were. You can just be. Sit quietly in the morning sun. Send that letter you've been thinking about for years. Leave a flower where someone might find it. Smile at a stranger like it's the most generous thing you'll do today. Because it might be. Albert, one of our dear community members, once wrote, I live in solitude now, and most of these things don't apply to me. But I still listen. Albert, your listening is a gift. Your solitude still carries presence. And presence is everything. The most important thing, the professor said. Before I left, I asked him what he would say to someone who feels like their best years are behind them. He didn't hesitate. I'd tell them, your best years aren't behind you, they're inside you. And then he added, don't waste them trying to rewind the clock. Use them to become who time has been preparing you to be. That's it, isn't it? We're not here to chase youth. We're here to embody wisdom. To walk slower, but see more. To speak softer, but mean more. To do less, but be more. A final word, from my heart to yours. So if you've made it to this moment, I want to say thank you. Not just for watching, but for feeling, for remembering what matters, for still showing up, day after day, with heart. If this touched something in you, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What truth are you ready to embrace? What weight are you ready to let go of? And if you know someone who needs this message, share it. Because we are never too old to need reminding, we still matter. We still belong. We still get to live fully. Please like this video, subscribe, and join us again. Because we're creating a space where aging is not the end of something, it's the becoming of something beautiful. From my heart to yours, take a deep breath, let it go, and step into what's next. You've earned it.